The sterile scent of antiseptic, usually a comforting balm to Nurse Sarah Jenkins, felt like a suffocating shroud this Tuesday evening. It clung to her scrubs, her hair, even the very air she breathed in the emergency room of St. Jude's Medical Center. Sarah, a veteran A nurse with 15 years of experience, moved through the controlled chaos with the practiced grace of a seasoned professional. Her hands, calloused from countless fore-insertions and wound dressings, were steady, her mind a finely tuned instrument of triage and rapid assessment. She thrived in the high-stakes environment, where every second counted and every decision could mean the difference between life and death. Tonight, however, was different. A palpable tension had descended upon the A, thicker than the usual hum of monitors and hushed consultations. Whispers of a priority incoming had circulated hours ago, followed by the arrival of grim-faced men in dark suits, their presence a silent, unsettling declaration of importance. Then the doors burst open. A gurney, pushed by two paramedics, was rushed in, followed by a flurry of military personnel. The patient was a man, mid-30s, his face pale and drawn, his body a grotesque tapestry of blood-soaked bandages and lacerations. His uniform, or what was left of it, bore the insignia of a Navy SEAL. But it was the sheer volume of his injuries that stole the breath from every medical professional in the room. Commander Hayes, U.S. Navy SEAL, one of the military escorts, barked, his voice tight with urgency. Multiple GSW, high-velocity impacts. Estimated 40 entry wounds. He's been stabilized, but barely. Lost a lot of blood. 40 bullet wounds. Sarah's mind reeled. It wasn't a typo, wasn't an exaggeration. As the trauma team swarmed the gurney, cutting away the tattered remnants of his uniform, the horrifying truth became starkly apparent. His torso, arms, and legs were peppered with entry points, some small and clean, others ragged and tearing. It looked like he had been caught in a hailstorm of lead. Miraculously, none appeared to have struck major organs directly, but the sheer number meant internal bleeding was a certainty, and the risk of infection massive. Dr. Eris Thorne, the attending trauma surgeon, a man known for his calm under pressure, felt a tremor of unease. 40, good heavens. Get him prepped for OR stat. Blood transfusions massive. Get a full body scan immediately. We need to locate every single projectile. The next few hours were a blur of frantic activity. Commander Hayes' vitals flickered precariously. He was a ghost of a man, his once powerful physique ravaged by the onslaught. The scans confirmed the nightmare. Dozens of bullets, some lodged just beneath the skin, others deeper, dangerously close to arteries, nerves, and bone. Removing them all would be an agonizing, meticulous process fraught with risk. We need to prioritize, Dr. Thorne stated, his brow furrowed as he studied the scans. Extract the most critical ones first, stabilize him. We can't go digging for every single fragment right now. He won't survive that much time on the table. Sarah, who had been meticulously cleaning and cataloging each visible wound, felt a cold dread. Doctor, with all due respect, she interjected, her voice firm. If we leave any of these in, even the superficial ones, the risk of infection, sepsis, and long-term complications is astronomical. Especially with the amount of foreign material already introduced. This isn't just about survival. It's about his future, his quality of life. Dr. Thorne sighed, running a hand through his hair. Nurse Jenkins, I understand your concern. But we are talking about a patient whose body has been turned into a sieve. Our priority is to keep him alive. We extract the life-threatening projectiles, close him up, and then address the rest in subsequent surgeries once he's stronger. But he wouldn't get stronger if he's fighting off 40 potential infection sites. Sarah countered, her voice rising slightly. She had seen too many patients succumb to complications from seemingly minor retained fragments. These aren't just bullets. They're foreign bodies, carrying whatever filth they picked up on their journey. Every single one is a ticking time bomb. The military escorts, standing silently in the corner, shifted, their eyes fixed on Sarah. They knew the value of their man. "Nurse, that's a surgeon's call," Dr. Thorne said, his voice edged with impatience. "We don't have the luxury of a leisurely extraction. We need to move." But Sarah had a vision. She had spent years assisting in complex trauma surgeries, developing an almost intuitive understanding of human anatomy, a surgeon's eye for precision, and a nurse's touch for meticulous care. She knew, with a certainty that resonated deep in her bones, that leaving any bullet behind was a death sentence, slow and agonizing. She also knew that the hospital's strict protocols, designed for efficiency and liability, often stifled the kind of radical, patient-centric care that truly saved lives. "Doctor," Sarah said, her voice dropping to a low, intense whisper, "I can do this. I've assisted in enough debridements and foreign body extractions. Give me the tools. I can work alongside you simultaneously on the less critical areas while you focus on the major ones. We can get them all out now." Dr. Thorne stared at her, his eyes wide with surprise. What she was suggesting was audacious, bordering on insubordination. Nurses didn't perform such invasive procedures, certainly not without direct, explicit orders and constant supervision, and definitely not on a patient of this profile. It was a massive liability. But he also saw the unshakable conviction in her eyes, the raw, desperate determination that only true dedication could forge. He had seen Sarah perform miracles before, her instincts often sharper than his own, and time was running out. "You're out of your mind, Jenkins," he muttered, but there was a flicker of something else in his gaze, a desperate hope. "If anything goes wrong, your career is over." "If we don't do this, he is over," Sarah retorted, her eyes unwavering. "And so is my conscience." A long, tense moment stretched between them. The military men watched, their faces unreadable. Finally, Dr. Thorne let out a ragged breath. "All right, Jenkins. You've got 15 minutes. If you can't make significant progress on the superficial ones, we stop." And this never happened. Sarah didn't waste a second. She grabbed a set of fine forceps, scalpels, and suction tools. With a precision that belied the chaos around her, she began to work. Her movements were fluid, almost surgical. She knew the human body intimately, not just from textbooks, but from years of hands-on experience, from the countless times she had peered into the raw vulnerability of flesh and bone. She worked with a quiet intensity, her brow furrowed in concentration, her breathing shallow. She located, carefully incised, and extracted bullet after bullet, each one dropping with a soft clink into a sterile bowl. Dr. Thorne, initially skeptical, found himself watching her with growing awe. She was a force of nature, a whirlwind of focused energy. She was anticipating his needs, handing him instruments before he even asked, her eyes scanning the monitors, her voice calm as she called out vitals. They worked in a gruesome yet strangely harmonious dance of life and death. Hours bled into each other. 12 hours, 14, 16. The OR team rotated, but Sarah remained, fueled by adrenaline and a fierce determination. Her back ached, her eyes burned, but she refused to yield. By the time the sun began to peek through the hospital windows, painting the sky in hues of bruised purple and orange, it was done. Every single bullet, all 40 of them, lay in the sterile bowl, a morbid collection of lead and copper. Commander Hayes, though still critically ill, was stable. His vitals were stronger than they had been in days. He had survived. Sarah stumbled out of the OR, exhausted but triumphant. She had done it. She had saved him. Her triumph was short-lived. The summons came less than an hour after she had finally collapsed into a chair in the break room. "Nurse Jenkins, Dean Harrison wants to see you now." Dean Harrison, the hospital administrator, was a man whose world was governed by policies, budgets, and public relations. He sat behind a gleaming mahogany desk, his face a mask of stern disapproval. Beside him sat the hospital's chief legal counsel, a woman with a perpetually pursed mouth. "Nurse Jenkins," Harrison began, his voice cold, devoid of any warmth or recognition of her heroic efforts. "We have received a full report on Commander Hayes' surgery. While we acknowledge the patient's improved condition, we are gravely concerned by your unauthorized actions." Sarah felt a chill. "Sir, I saved his life." Dr. Thorne was overwhelmed. "We had to act. Every minute counted." "You performed surgical procedures, Nurse Jenkins?" the legal counsel interjected, her voice sharp. "Procedures that fall strictly under the purview of a licensed surgeon. You overstepped your authority. You exposed this hospital to immense liability. What if something had gone wrong? What if you had nicked an artery? What if the patient had died under your unauthorized care?" "But he didn't die," Sarah retorted, her voice rising. "He lived because I did what needed to be done, because I saw what was necessary." Harrison leaned forward, his eyes narrowed. "Your intentions, however noble, do not supersede protocol. Nurse, this hospital operates under strict guidelines for a reason. Your actions were a blatant disregard for those guidelines. They were reckless. They were dangerous." "Reckless?" Sarah scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping her lips. "You think leaving 40 bullets in a man's body is less reckless? You think waiting for another surgery, risking sepsis, is safer? I made a clinical decision based on my experience, based on what was best for the patient. Your employment with St. Jude's Medical Center is terminated, effective immediately," Harrison stated, his voice flat and motionless. "Your final paycheck will be mailed to you. You will be escorted off the premises." Sarah stared at him, disbelief warring with a rising tide of fury. "You're firing me? For saving a life? For doing my job, and then some? For violating hospital policy and endangering our institution?" the legal counsel corrected, her voice chillingly calm. "You are a liability, Nurse Jenkins." The words hit Sarah like a physical blow. Her world, which had revolved around the rhythm of the Ebe, the camaraderie of her colleagues, the profound satisfaction of healing, crumbled around her. She was escorted out, her scrubs still smelling of antiseptic and blood, her mind reeling. The injustice was a burning coal in her chest. She had given everything, risked everything, and in return, she was discarded. She spent the next 24 hours in a haze of despair. The phone calls to friends and colleagues were met with sympathy, but no solutions. The nursing board would likely investigate. Her license could be at risk. Her career, her calling, her identity, all seemed to be slipping away. She sat in her small apartment, the silence deafening, the weight of her unemployment crushing. She had saved a man's life, and it had cost her everything. The knock on her door came precisely 24 hours after she had been escorted out of St. Jude's. It was a firm, deliberate knock, not the tentative tap of a friend, nor the aggressive pound of a bill collector. Sarah, still in her pajamas, her hair a mess, peered through the peephole. Her breath caught in her throat. Standing on her doorstep were two men in impeccably tailored suits, their faces serious. And beside them, in a wheelchair, was Commander Hayes. He looked pale, but his eyes, though tired, held a surprising intensity. He was alive, and he was here. She fumbled with the locks, her heart pounding. "Nurse Jenkins?" One of the men asked, his voice deep and authoritative. "My name is Admiral Thorne." "This is General Miller, and this, as you know, is Commander Hayes." Sarah could only nod, her mind struggling to comprehend. Admiral Thorne continued, his gaze unwavering. "We understand you were let go from St. Jude's. We are here to rectify a grave injustice." He then stepped aside, revealing a third figure, a woman in a crisp navy uniform, her rank insignia indicating she was a high-ranking medical officer. "Nurse Jenkins," Commander Hayes said, his voice raspy but clear. I wanted to come here myself. They told me what you did. They told me you went against orders, that you risked everything to get every single piece of shrapnel out of me. They said you saved my life, not just for now, but for the future. He paused, a flicker of emotion in his eyes. I owe you everything. Admiral Thorne stepped forward. Nurse Jenkins, Commander Hayes is not just a highly skilled SEAL. He is a critical asset to national security, privy to intelligence that, if compromised, could have devastating global consequences. His survival and his full recovery was paramount. Your actions, though outside the purview of civilian hospital protocol, were nothing short of heroic. You displayed unparalleled skill, courage, and dedication. General Miller added, "We have our own medical intelligence, Nurse Jenkins. We know the full extent of Commander Hayes' injuries. We know the prognosis given by the initial medical team. And we know that without your intervention, without your refusal to compromise, Commander Hayes would not be standing, or rather sitting, here today." Sarah felt a wave of dizzying relief. They knew. They understood. St. Jude's acted within their policies, however rigid they may be. Admiral Thorne continued, his voice softening slightly. But their policies do not dictate our gratitude, nor our recognition of true merit. We are here to offer you a position, Nurse Jenkins, that we believe is more fitting for your extraordinary talents. He gestured to the Navy medical officer. This is Captain Eleanor Vance, Chief Medical Officer for Naval Special Warfare Command. She has reviewed your file, your performance history, and the full details of Commander Hayes' surgery. She believes your unique blend of surgical precision, intuitive diagnostic ability, and unwavering dedication makes you an invaluable asset. Captain Vance stepped forward, her eyes warm. Nurse Jenkins, we are offering you a direct commission into the United States Navy Nurse Corps. With the rank of Lieutenant Commander, you will be assigned to a newly formed, highly specialized medical unit, tasked with providing advanced trauma care to our most elite special operations forces. Your expertise in complex foreign body extraction and long-term recovery will be invaluable. You will have the resources, the autonomy, and most importantly, the respect you deserve. Sarah stared at them, her mind struggling to process the enormity of the offer. A direct commission, Lieutenant Commander, a specialized unit. It was a world away from the bureaucratic confines of St. Jude's, a world she had never even imagined. Your salary will be commensurate with your rank and experience, with full benefits, and a signing bonus that should more than compensate for any immediate financial hardship. Admiral Thorne added, as if reading her thoughts, "You will be working with the best, and you will be making a profound difference, not just in individual lives, but in the security of our nation." Tears, hot and unstoppable, streamed down Sarah's face, but these were not tears of despair or injustice. They were tears of overwhelming relief, of vindication, of a profound sense of purpose rediscovered. Her life, which had felt like a shattered mosaic just moments before, was suddenly being pieced back together, not just restored, but elevated. "We understand this is a lot to take in," General Miller said gently, "but we hope you will consider it. We need people like you, Nurse Jenkins. People who put the patient first, no matter the cost." Sarah looked at Commander Hayes, who offered her a weak, grateful smile. She looked at the solemn faces of the Admiral and the General, at the compassionate gaze of Captain Vance. She thought of the cold, sterile office of Dean Harrison, and the chilling words, "You are a liability." A profound sense of peace settled over her. She was not a liability. She was an asset. She was a healer. And now she had found a place where her extraordinary skills, her unwavering dedication, and her fierce compassion would not only be valued, but celebrated. "Yes," Sarah whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "Yes, I'll consider it. Thank you. Thank you all." 24 hours. In that short span, her life had been irrevocably altered. She had lost everything, only to gain a future she never dared to dream of. A future where her courage and skill would truly shine, recognized and honored by the very nation she had unknowingly served. The nurse who lost her job for saving a seal was about to embark on a new, extraordinary chapter, her life changed forever by the very act that had seemed to destroy it.